सो डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आज हम कार्बोनिल केमिस्ट्री में बात करेंगे अबाउट दी अल्डोल कंडेंसेशन रिएक्शन। ये एक बहुत ही फेमस रिएक्शन है, बहुत ही कॉमन रिएक्शन है एज फार एज द ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री इज कंसर्न्ड, एंड दिस इज द रिएक्शन वेयर यू always see the questions in the competitive exams as well as in your theory exam. So aldol condensation, basically you can see here from the scheme that two acetaldehyde molecules, they react together to form alpha beta, yeah, we can say it beta hydroxycarbonyl compound, which decomposes or which undergoes dehydration in once you heat that to form alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compound. So aldol condensation can occur between the two aldehydes also, two ketone molecules also, and also one aldehyde, one ketone, which is called crossed aldol condensation. So this is how we have the different types of aldol condensation reaction. So in general, what is aldol condensation reaction and what is the mechanism? To understand that, let's move to the slide. So this is how we'll start the aldol condensation. So let's go first with your definition. Two molecules of aldehyde or two molecules of a ketone which possess alpha hydrogen atoms. Now ये बहुत ही important चीज है, यानी is it not that कि all aldehyde molecules, all ketone type molecules will undergo the aldol condensation? No, those aldehyde molecules are those ketone molecules which possess alpha hydrogen. Alpha hydrogen, we have defined it. So if you have a carbonyl compound, C double bond O, then adjacent to that carbonyl, for example, this is the carbon, let's say this is hydrogen. Adjacent to this carbonyl, you must have a carbon atom, and there must be hydrogen atoms present on that, at least one hydrogen atom. And this carbon which is adjacent to this carbonyl, it's called alpha carbon, and hydrogen atoms on that particular carbon, they're called as alpha hydrogens. So this is the requirement. Two aldehyde molecules or any two ketone molecules which possess alpha hydrogen atoms, they condense together. यानी दो molecules आपस में react करते हैं in general in presence of dilute potassium hydroxide. तो दो aldehyde molecules और दो ketone molecules को condense होने के लिए there should be a third criteria, that is there should be a the weak base. Let's say not weak base, dilute base, like KOH or barium hydroxide. So what they will do, they will react to give beta hydroxyaldehyde. This compound is your beta hydroxyaldehyde. In this figure you can see, I'm just encircling it. So this is our one aldehyde molecule, acetaldehyde. This is another acetaldehyde molecule. They condense together in presence of a base and they form alpha beta. You see, this is carbonyl adjacent carbon, this is alpha, then this is beta. So beta पे hydroxyl group, this is beta hydroxyaldehyde, yeah, beta. So this gives beta hydroxyaldehyde. If you start with these two ketone molecules, then you will get beta hydroxyketone. So that means the condensation of two aldehyde molecules, they give beta hydroxyaldehyde. Likely condensation of two ketone molecules, they will give beta hydroxyketone. ये जो beta hydroxyaldehyde है, this is basically known as aldol. And based on this product which is formed after the condensation of two aldehyde molecules, this reaction is called as aldol condensation. ठीक है? So in general जो product बनता है in the aldol condensation reaction, that is aldol, beta hydroxyaldehyde. And if you start the reacting material as two ketones, you'll get beta hydroxyketone. ये तो हो गया एक इंपॉर्टेंट. उसके बाद इसमें एक इंपॉर्टेंट सेकंड स्टेप भी होता है. नाउ ये जो कंपाउंड विच इज फॉर्म्ड एज बीटा हाइड्रोक्सील्डिहाइड, यूजुअली इट इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी लेस स्टेबल. इट्स लेस स्टेबल. हाउ वी कैन से दैट इफ वी हीट दिस, यानी ये कंपाउंड जैसे ही बनेगा, इफ वी हीट दिस, हियर यू कैन सी, यू हीट दिस, then this molecule undergoes the dehydration a proton from this carbon and this hydroxide is lost in the form of water molecule, and when these two H and OH is lost, you get a double bond here. So the product is this one, final alpha beta. It's called, since it's a double bond, unsaturated, alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compound. So the final product after we heat this beta hydroxyaldehyde, that is alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compound. So this is in general your aldol condensation. Now second point, the definition: if the condensation reaction occurs between two different carbonyl compounds. Now what does that mean? अभी तक हम बात कर रहे थे between two aldehydes, for example acetaldehyde, acetaldehyde, two ketones, acetone, acetone. Now if you have different carbonyl compounds, for example you take one aldehyde, acetaldehyde, you take one acetone molecule. Now they are different molecules. So this reaction, they will also undergo the aldol condensation because they have the alpha hydrogen, but it's called crossed aldol condensation. So the condensation reaction between two different carbonyl compounds, that is aldehyde or ketones, it's called crossed aldol condensation. So this is all about this. We discussed that once you heat the aldols, you'll get alpha beta unsaturated compounds. Now इसमें जो main point आपको मिल जाता है, जो हमने इससे पहले भी बहुत बार discuss किया, that is aldol condensation creates the new molecules where we have carbon-carbon link formed. That is, we get a new carbon-carbon bond. ये देखिए, this was our one aldehyde molecule. This was another. Now we have bond between this carbon and this carbon ideally. You can see here also new carbon-carbon bond. So we should say aldol condensation also creates carbon-carbon, new carbon-carbon bond. Okay? So this is all about the basics and the definition. Now let's move about towards the mechanism part. Okay? Before we'll go to the mechanism, just have a look at this diagram. Acidity of alpha hydrogen atoms in carbonyl compounds. We have discussed this before that also, that in the carbonyl compound C double bond O, we have adjacent to that, if we have hydrogen atom present, they are acidic, means they can be released as H plus in the form of base. For example, this is our molecule acetaldehyde CH3CHO. This is your alpha carbon. Since this we have a pi bond here, this is sigma bond. This pi bond is towards more electronegative oxygen. So usually this has delta minus and this has delta plus, this carbon. So because of that, the pull on these two electrons, which is because of this highly electronegative oxygen, these hydrogen atoms can be easily released. So if you have base present in the medium, so the H can be released as H plus. So results in the form of this compound. This is called enolate anion. Enolate ion. Remember this. Now enolate ion को हम बना सकते हैं. We can make the resonance like this. Complete shift towards this. So what you can show it in the form of O negative. You can show it in the form of canonical structure CHH. This is your enolate anion. You can show it as a canonical structure. Canonical structure you can show like this rather than the reversibility. So if you have a carbonyl compound, adjacent to that there is a carbon which has alpha hydrogens. Remember they are acidic. So in presence of base, that H can be removed as H plus. So you get enolate anion, that is you get a negative charge on this carbon. And then there can be the conjugation or resonance. So you get this canonical structure also. So compounds which have alpha hydrogen in the carbonyl chemistry, they can make the enolate anion. Remember this. Now let's move to the mechanism. This is our molecule number 1, acetaldehyde, CH3C double bond OH. Fine. हमारे पास क्या है present? We have base present. We know that base has the it's a negative charge. It's a base. Base means it can abstract H plus from your compound, and also it will abstract acidic plus, which is acidic. Simple. And acidic we have discussed now. It is the hydrogens on the alpha carbon. Carbonyl group के side में जो carbon है, it's alpha carbon. Hydrogens attached to that are alpha hydrogens. So this will be released as H plus. So result is that you will get minus water molecule. And what you get is that this carbon with a negative charge, and this is what we have. This is called enolate anion or carbon anion, carbanion. So this is your step number 1. That in the step number 1, your removal of hydrogen atoms from the alpha position with the alpha base. And that is second step. Now the second step is there. This was our enolate anion which was generated in the first step. Now it attacks this carbon. So it's a nucleophilic addition. This we have discussed also, that in carbonyl chemistry, carbonyl compounds, they possess a characteristic reaction, that's the nucleophilic addition. They undergo nucleophilic addition. So now this is a nucleophile, this enolate anion. So it attacks on this carbon. So turns out that ये जो bond है, it moves towards oxygen. So result is we have this compound. Okay, so we can see here this oxygen atom is here with a negative charge, and now we have a carbon-carbon bond formed. So this is step number 2, nucleophilic addition reaction. Fine. Now after that, in the step number 3, we have, so we are in the step number 3. This is our compound which has a negative charge. It takes proton from the water. Okay? So we have water in the medium because we are using the base. So it takes a proton from the water, so we get this compound simply. So this is your carbonyl, this is alpha carbon, this is now your beta carbon. So beta pe hydroxyl group hai, this is beta hydroxyaldehyde, beta hydroxyaldehyde. So this is what we discussed in this case, beta hydroxyaldehyde. So this is what is formed, beta hydroxyaldehyde. Now जैसे मैंने डिस्कस किया कि ये कंपाउंड इतना स्टेबल नहीं होता है. You just heat it, it undergoes dehydration, that is it undergoes loss of water molecule. So in the final step I will show it that this beta hydroxyaldehyde, you heat this, since we have base in the medium, so it loses this OH, and also it loses a proton from this carbon. So this is released as water molecule. So this is, instead of that, once it releases H2O, you get a double bond here. So this is your final compound, alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde. So this is the nomenclature, alpha beta unsaturated aldehyde. यहाँ पे जो important question है जो usually आता है in the competitive exams, that if they don't ask you that you are not heating this mixture, remember this. अगर आप heat नहीं कर रहे इस mixture को, then assume that the product formed is basically beta hydroxyaldehyde. If it is shown that you have on the arrow that delta also, then you have tried this is the product, alpha beta unsaturated carbonyl compound. So this was all about your very important aldol condensation reaction, which is formed between those carbonyl compounds which possess alpha hydrogen atoms. It's catalyzed by the base. Okay? So now we have finally regarding the aldol condensation reaction. So I am attaching the PDF file what we discussed here, short note, basic definition, basic points, and the mechanism. So you can download that. In addition to this also, if you have questions, so please write down, don't hesitate. So you can write down the comments, or you can write down in the on the WhatsApp number 8491857406. So you can see this in the the details of the concise chemistry also. So thank you. This was all about today's class. So now we have just 2 classes left. One is the Cannizaro's reaction, very important. Then we have one more, that's probably the Witting reaction. Okay? So thank you. Yeah. Hmm?